See Brown in your face.
Have you heard of Everything at Once?
Do you know about Everything at Once?
It's internationally known.
Aliens listen to it.
It's the best ever.
If there's something you're looking for in the 814, or feeling a little bored and think there ain't no more, check out Everything at Once and allow it to be your source. It's that raw podcast that's always showing support, highlighting the scene. No need to take I-90 to Peep or 79 to see how it be. Interviewing your locals with mindsets that are global. Innovators and creators on every single upload. So much going on in the EPA.
Incredible content.
Everything at Once will keep you up to date.
Amazing guests.
What you doing? Come through and hang with Tony and Dave.
Community driven.
Bringing everything at once from around the way. Everything at once from around the way. Hey.
Please listen. We love you. Everything at Once.
Everything at Once.
It's time to introduce this show.
The best show on the face of the planet.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in today. We want to thank our Patreon producers, Brian G., Josh W., Ian D., Nick G., and Sadie M.
Patreon, it's an awesome way to support the show and say thanks. You can become a Patreon supporter by clicking the link below and choosing to be an intern, assistant, or producer level supporter.
If being on the production team is too much pressure for you, you can also send any contributions using our Venmo at Everything at Once Studios. We now want to thank all the local businesses who supported this episode. These businesses get the Everything at Once stamp of approval and are critical members of the Everything at Once community. We couldn't do it without them. With winter approaching, are there any last minute details that you want to change or renovate around your home?
I might, but you know who to call.
Yeah, Ghostbusters!
No, Tony. No, not Ghostbusters. Solid State Construction.
Oh, yeah. Solid State.
Yeah.
Duh. Solid State takes pride in all their home remodeling projects. Solid State specializes in bathroom remodeling, kitchen renovation, window and door installation, custom design work, and more, including painting, flooring, drywall, sidewalk, decks. Get your free quote today by calling Nick at 814-397-7854. Solid people, solid product, solid state construction.
You know, Tony, with all these renovations from Solid State, I think we might have kicked up some bad energy around here. Yeah, oh yeah. Luckily, we know just the people to go see.
I know it this time. It's Ghostbusters.
No, Tony! Our friends at Cauldron and Thorne.
Wow. I feel really dumb right now, and I can't believe I didn't think of Cauldron and Thorne, the world's largest witchcraft and metaphysical shop, with everything a person needs to channel the spirit world.
Practice some self-care.
Find enlightenment.
Curse your enemies.
Protect yourself from your enemies.
Bless your friends.
Cleanse your space from negative energies. You can check out all the magical wares available at for these different practices we all love and enjoy at Cauldron and Thorne, 2724 West 8th Street, or online at cauldronandthorne.com.
This week, we have an incredible guest for you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Special guest today, Josh Travis.
Hey, thanks for having me.
In the building. Hell yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Super excited. I see we both got the memo to wear our country flannels today.
Yeah. I wear this way too often, but that's when I guess
It's
I
good.
do kind of look like a bum a little bit, but
No
when
way.
I feel like putting on something other than a t-shirt.
I feel like flannel is country style. I was trying to match the mood and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Plus,
Oh,
you're our
nice.
first, real, person who identifies as country. We've had folk singers and singer-songwriters, but I feel like you're our first official country musician in the building.
Well, that really puts to rest all the imposter syndrome I have most days.
Yeah, you're official, dude. I dub it.
Oh,
Everything
thanks,
at
man.
once official.
I
Thanks a lot.
get to be the imposter today. I look like a jackass without a flannel
Yeah,
on.
no
Oh,
flannel.
no, I
Thank gosh.
like the Calvin Klein.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
still looking classy, though.
Yeah,
Nobody can
right.
see it anyway, though,
Yeah.
because we have your sweet new album
Oh, yeah.
right here
Thank
displayed
you.
proudly. Thank you so much. I can't wait to listen to it. I've been checking you out on Spotify today and throughout the week.
Same.
Taking
Thanks,
it
man.
all in, getting a good feel for it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And the first thing, personally, I'm just gonna say, like, I usually don't identify myself as a country fan, but I do really love folk and bluegrass.
Oh yeah.
So I guess my first question that I want to ask you, this is one of the questions I've been thinking about actually. Normally I try not to do that. But what really separates a country song from like a folk or a bluegrass song, do you think?
I don't know if I'm the guy to answer that. But
Well, give us your best shot, dude.
man, I don't know. I feel like there's definitely the stereotypes in
Bluegrass,
classic country stuff, but as far as functionally or genre wise, well, I guess I could say you rarely ever see a drummer in a bluegrass group.
yeah.
So
Very true.
That's one thing, but and I've got some guys on this record that did quite a bit of great playing and shredding, but
Bluegrass
when I
is
think of bluegrass, I think of
banjo solos and mandolin. And
they take those runs and take their turns to really showcase all that. So
what I noticed from listening to your music is that the country, there's like such similar genres. You can tell they're like related, cousins or family members or descendants or whatever. And I think that, like you said, the bluegrass really has a lot of like tight shredding and like the banjo solos and the mandolin solos, and there's a lot more like tight picking parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of normal chord progressions, which I heard a lot in your music.
Yeah. I tell a lot of people I play guitar, but I'm not a guitar player by any means.
Yeah.
So that's what Sam, my guitar player, that's what he's for. And all the other guys that played and showcased their skills. I kind of just stuck to the songwriting as best I could and let the other guys do their thing.
You
So-
definitely have like a country style voice.
Oh, thanks
when you
a lot.
sing. Yeah. It definitely reminds me of like other country singers. I guess I do like the only country singer that I can really think of that I think a lot of people would probably identify as country, and people have been surprised, like country people or whatever, guys who drive trucks and do country things, is like Tyler Childers.
Oh yeah. I love his stuff. He's great. Yeah, I'd say he's been.
He's
bit
like
of an
country,
influence.
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I like to say folk though. I don't know why. I feel like it's the music snob in me that wants to not like pop music, and when I think of pop music, a lot of times country is not pop, but it's like still a modern contemporary style of music that's on the radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. My wife calls me a music snob for sure. But
Why?
yeah,
who's,
there's definitely
who's your jam?
not so much that, just because of people that that I might not like or gravitate towards, but
Sure.
I've learned to kind of keep my opinions to myself more than I should. Well, not share my opinions as much as I should.
It's okay. I
Or
don't.
maybe it
You're not
shouldn't.
going to offend me
Yeah.
by saying you don't like a certain country
No.
person.
No,
sure.
I'm with you though. As far as I don't listen to much stuff on the radio or in mainstream country.
I feel like country transcends onto that though.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Like
Confused here.
The Wolf, you know what I mean? That's all like pop country music. I guess there's probably a difference between like normal country music or like underground country music or whatever, like there is in any other genre compared to like pop country music. Like there's
Yeah.
pop rock and stuff like that, and then there's like regular rock that I would hear at like a tiny bar somewhere in Pittsburgh or around here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I definitely won't claim to be any sort of music historian, but
Right.
I think you can, when you look back on certain decades of music and certain decades of country music, you can see the changes more distinctly when you look at certain decades. And I don't know, there wasn't any sort of, to my knowledge, any sort of counterculture, underground music scene in the
country
50s
scene?
or
Yeah.
60s in country music.
Sure.
Or in any genre, I don't know. But I don't know if that started more with punk stuff or what, but maybe folk. Yeah.
Or like funk even, I think.
Yeah, maybe. But
Or blues.
No, I mean, I'm a historian of sorts. I'm very interested in the 60s. You definitely had like the extreme like acid rock or countercultural type rock, like the Velvet Underground is like a super popular or influential band now, but when they were first out, they were making like very Andy Warhol art was popular, but some of the stuff was just like way ahead of its time, you know.
Sure.
So you've definitely had those underground or like under the surface bands and scenes probably forever, I'd imagine.
Yeah, throughout
Yeah.
all the different scenes. Plus, like, I feel like underground is just, it's just not popular yet, you know what I mean? It's not like the stuff that you hear on the radio or the people that are like selling out stadiums and giant theaters and stuff. It's the guys that are traveling around and, you know, trying to make a name for themselves still.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't pay much attention to what's on the radio, but at the same time, I don't claim to be, you know,
An expert.
this or the other, or I don't claim to be a country singer or, you know, a pop or underground country
So
singer.
what
for
would
that
you say
matter
yourself
either.
if you're not a country singer?
I mean, I definitely say I fall in that realm, but
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I didn't grow up, you know, I didn't grow up in the South or, you know, with any of those stereotypes.
What about in the country?
Yeah, a little. I mean,
No four-wheelers and pickup trucks?
a little bit, I guess, when I was younger. But yeah, not I don't know. Like I said, I think there's like those stereotypical lifestyles that
Definitely.
that sometimes you kind of correlate to certain types of music, but
For sure.
even the music itself, I can't say I grew up listening to country music, you know, exclusively my whole life, and and this record isn't any sort of amalgamation of that or anything. So.
Right. There's a lot of classic tropes that I think of when I think of like somebody who listens to country music for sure. Like they live out in, like if they were in Erie, they would live in like Waterford or like Cambridge or somewhere out in the country.
Well, I do live in Waterford.
Nice. And they got like a couple acres and like four-wheelers or dirt bikes and a big truck. Did you drive a truck here?
No, I drove a Subaru here. Nice WRX.
There you go.
Nice. Those
Ooh,
are sick.
nice, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
thanks.
notice that
That's
outside.
Well,
if it's not a truck though, that's still like a car, like a motorhead car. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's older. It's 10 years old now. And I'm not any sort of tuner or anything like that either. I haven't done anything to it, but the older I get, the more just practical I get for vehicles. But,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just have never gotten rid of it.
No, if it's still driving, I'm hoping I can keep my car, this car for like a long time. Honestly, I don't want to keep buying cars, especially with like interest rates and all this crazy stuff. And cars are just so freaking
Yeah.
expensive, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy right now.
I plan on holding on to this one for a long time.
But the next one's gonna be, it's like, oh, I want something cool, practical, midlife crisis Corvette.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next car after I don't pay for this one for 10 years will be like something real cool. Hopefully, we'll see though.
that's the dream.
Life has lots of changes and turns and stuff. But you are from have you lived in Waterford your whole life? Grew up
just
there?
north of Waterford, more in Erie, but I went to school out there and
Cool.
yeah, so
Definitely have a little bit of a not quite city upbringing.
yeah, I mean I grew up in the suburbs, really, to be honest. So I guess it's whatever way you want to look at it.
Yeah,
but,
sure,
for sure.
Yeah, so
So I guess like, I don't know, the way I think of it, not so much like tropes or anything like that. Like what interests me is like there's so many different, and I know you're not like, you know, you say you lean on a few different like genres, or you're not like a certain like pop influence type. How do you land on the type of music that you play with like everything that's out there? Like you didn't exclusively listen to country, you know, like you're not influenced by the pop country now, or like, you know, the bluegrass, whatever. How do you land on the genre that you did land on, or the mixing of genres?
yeah, I mean I would say this is a country record for sure, but
Right.
I just am hesitant to call myself a country
Country singer.
singer
Right,
because
sure.
because I feel like that carries a lot of the, you know, a lot of history that people assume that you should have, or maybe stereotypes too, like I said. But I mean, most of what I do listen to is, you know, country and bluegrass type stuff, along with other stuff. But so that stuff is definitely, obviously, greatly influenced. the stuff I play now. So
Sure.
I don't know, man. There's all sorts of names. Like, I know Americana is a big name.
Yeah, definitely.
These days, and depending on who you talk to, somebody might have different opinions about it, because it's a newer, it's a newer kind of
thing.
title or name for a type of music. But I think that kind of generally throws you, lumps a lot of people
Together, for sure.
together.
What draws you to this type of music, though?
Man, that's a hard question.
Is it the lyrics? Is it the rhythms, the guitar, the country lifestyle vibes, or?
Yeah, not so much the lifestyle vibes or any of that, because I don't really write to try to fit into a certain sound. But
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big part of this type of music is storytelling, which I'm really drawn to that, and I can't say that that's like primarily how I write, but I do like to write like that. That's a big part of it, and in general the sound too, because at the end of the day, we're listening to music, and
Right.
it's the sound of it along with the ideas too. So yeah, but I knew I had to have Sam, my guitar player. I needed to have him learn as much as he could to play these kind of songs when we did this record, and I knew I wanted pedal steel too, so I wanted that sound when I went into this.
Right. You got some sweet harmonica in there too.
Oh yeah, a guy named Charlie Barath. He lives down near Pittsburgh as well. Yeah, he's great. I think that's pretty much what he does exclusively. So yeah, I was really fortunate to have some guys that I don't normally play on this.
Mm-hmm. And so who's some of the music that you do listen to, or somebody that you take influence from or look up to?
More modern stuff, like what you said. Childers, Sturgill's big for me.
Sure.
Avett
Brothers?
I never got too into Avett Brothers.
They're great, especially songwriting and like storytelling.
Yeah, I know some of their older stuff a little bit, but yeah, I not that I have anything against them. I just
haven't got to them yet. Haven't made the playlist yet.
Yeah, but there's so much out there, and I feel like this kind of genre or subgenre, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
I feel like it's only expanded and just exploded in the last handful of years. So, I mean.
Yeah, I think I completely agree, and I think that one of the big things about country or Americana or singer-songwriter or folk is that you can do it relatively independently. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned that your music has a drummer, but you don't. There's a lot of people who are just there with their guitar. You know what I mean? And playing a few, maybe 5 or 6 different chords in a unique progression, and are able to make some pretty creative and interesting and good music out of that. And I think that lends itself to people who are, independent, or maybe don't have that full band, or don't have time, or are busy, or whatever it is. That's all. The barriers are less when it's just you and a guitar. You work at your own speed. You know what I mean? You set your own stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why it's growing so quickly these days.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a musician, so I'm just thinking in real time right now. But I got to imagine it's also got to be maybe slightly easier to get gigs, just because there's certain venues that I've definitely been to or seen that will absolutely have acoustic artists on, but if you got the whole band,
big band,
drum too loud, we don't want you here.
Yeah, I mean, what I've definitely noticed is if I'm quote unquote cold calling a place, reaching out to a place that I've never played, and I know that my band is available, and it looks like they have all sorts of music. It looks like they host bands and solo acts and stuff. I know that if I say, hey, I've got a band, we're 4-piece, here's a video or whatever, that's going to get me through the door a lot better than, hey, I'm a solo musician,
Really?
can I set up in the corner at your place? And I mean, there's definitely, I think there's a lot more places, and also because we live in the Northwest, it's a lot easier for places to host a solo or duo act than a whole band.
Sure.
And I play plenty of both, solo sets or sometimes Sam and I. I think, depending on where you are, people tend to gravitate towards the live energy of a whole band.
More so than a solo person. Do you think that playing your genre makes you more appealing to different venues?
I don't know. I think the band does, like the whole band, but I think there's definitely been solo gigs I've played where I've thought, oh, these people are going to hate this next song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to say sometimes.
Sure.
I mean, most places seem pretty willing and open to all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think it just depends on the place and the atmosphere and
Yeah. I think of like country western bars like Doc Holliday's and like what's the one downtown or that used to be Crooked Eye. I forget what it's called now. But I think of like certain, like there's definitely a niche bar market for like country bars, you know what I mean? And I would think that maybe they would be more likely to seek out or to have like a country singer than maybe an Altered State or Basement Transmission or King's Rook or stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe. I can't say I've played Doc Holliday's or those other places. We do love playing Altered State, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to like us, and we
yeah, maybe
enjoy
they were a
playing
bad
there
example.
too. So yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, and I think if you get into bigger cities too, you might see that a little more. But I don't know. I think Erie just likes to see live music, whatever kind.
For sure. And I think that like a lot of the bigger bands that come by are country. You know what I mean? Like you don't see, like you see country bands selling out Erie Insurance and stuff like that and Warner Theater more than other bands, unless they're like classic, like Metallica or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like you don't really get Metallica in Erie.
Well,
That's a
maybe
little
not
bit too
Metallica.
big. But like you do get,
probably.
but you do get like some more prominent country acts that come around here than in comparison to like other genres. Like. Maybe it's different, but I remember it used to be like very consistent. You'd have like the big country acts that would come around, like the Celebrate Erie or.
Yeah, they haven't done a country act for a while at Celebrate Erie. But,
Yeah, who'd they have this last year?
Florida and that baby, dude, that made its way up to the stage.
Oh man, yeah, I thought that was the year before, but I remember hearing about that.
The year before was Ja Rule.
It was
Oh
Joe.
yeah,
But I
Wow.
feel like, and then I think a couple years before that was like, oh no, that was a long time ago. They had like Kansas, and I remember seeing like other big name, like I can't think of them because I don't pay much attention. Maybe like that I've been to the Warner Theater and Erie Insurance and stuff like that. One guy who's on The Voice, I forget his name, and maybe some other bigger country people that play at the Warner Theater that people are always super excited about, or at Erie Insurance.
There used to be that. What was the name of that country music festival that they used to have, like out in the sticks? Why can't I think of it?
around here.
Yeah. Oh, Jamboree in the Hills.
Jamboree in the Hills.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but
It was great. Jamboree in the Hills. The one time I ever went there, I broke like a million people's hearts because Leonard Skinner was playing, and I told everybody that Leonard Skinner was dead and that it's not actually Leonard Skinner that they're seeing, and most of the people out there were just wasted and had no idea.
oh man,
That's a half truth.
Skinner played that festival.
Yeah.
And it was local.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Figure?
quite
not,
local.
Not quite
Oh.
local, but it's within a few hours.
Yeah, within a few
okay.
hours,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and I told everybody that they all died in a plane crash, and most of them had no idea, like they didn't know the lore or the history of Leonard Skinner.
That's awful.
I was like, I wasn't really super excited to be there. I just went out there mainly to party with some friends and stuff, and just broke a million hearts, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right.
Telling people that they were all dead.
One of the
Wow,
most.
man.
Yeah, I was an awful human
Yeah.
being. Bad move, but it brought me some sort of sick, demented cheer that these people were just. It made me feel better than them.
I've only been to one type of one country concert, and it was Shooter Jennings and the Charlie Daniels band.
Oh, there you go.
Boy,
Okay.
that was such a fun time. Opposite of you, like it's not. Like
Oh, I still had a great time.
Oh, you had a great time. But I mean, like the music. Like I'm not like generally into the music, but my one buddy, that was back in college, he was like, I fucking love Shooter Jennings, and I was like, oh, all right, let's go check it out. So much fun.
Yeah.
Like just a whole vibe. It was
Oh,
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a good show.
Well, I was still having a good time, and it didn't start out on purpose. I was like, I wish it was actually the real Skinner, and they're like, oh, what do you mean? And then I realized that like half the people out there had no idea, so then it became like a game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was exciting. But
boy.
anyway, so
Wow.
shows in Erie, playing at Altered State a lot. Where else do you like to get out around here? Are you playing any of the other cities? Have you made it to Cleveland or Buffalo or Pittsburgh or anything like that yet?
Yeah, I've been to Buffalo a handful of times. There's a small little place out there that we play a couple times a year lately.
Mm-hmm.
We get down to the Pittsburgh area. There's a really cool brewery, and I'm blanking on the name of the place now.
In Pittsburgh?
No, just outside of Pittsburgh. On your way to Pittsburgh, Big Rail Brewing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're
Isn't
they're a
that
pretty
in
popular place.
Is that in that's not the one in Titusville, is it?
No, not
No.
quite. But yeah, I wanted to say Oil City, but it's not. Wow. If Bill Smith hears this, he's gonna hate me for not remembering his town. But
Oh no.
yeah, so yeah, that region down around there a little bit. So yeah, I've gotten out a little more the last couple of years.
Cool. And how long have you been like performing in like actually performing?
Man, probably since high school. So I don't know, the last 10 or 12 years probably.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So is this your first like studio album?
Yeah, I put out a little EP, 6-song EP that I made locally here with Mark Graziano and Eric Buman. They had a studio in Erie for a while. I put that out probably like 6 or 7 years ago, but this is the first full length I've had out. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And so if you were taking me to country boot camp, where do you think we would start? Where would we start? Where would you have me if you were trying to turn me into a country western singer? Where would I start as far as my influences go?
Well,
Or
like I
what-
said,
or would
I'm the wrong guy for this.
It's
but,
okay. or would I start with learning guitar? Would I have to do that first?
Well, I don't know. Depends on what you want to do, I guess.
I'm gonna play the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm shooting for the moon. It's not like the highest arc of country western singer. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
only
up
arc
there.
I know.
That's up there for sure. Yeah. And I would say that most of the guys that have played that are way better musicians than I am.
I feel
but-
like-
Oh, stop it.
I'm gonna go super snobby right here and just say that country musicians are not the most technical music players out there.
I think that's not true.
Well, I'll say this. I am not the most technical musician out there.
But that's only my perspective
Yeah,
of country music.
no.
I hear like 4 or 5 chords and progression. I'm like, that's good and it sounds great. Don't get me wrong. It's not that they're bad musicians or that country music sounds bad to me. It's just not overly technical. I don't hear a lot of like harmonies and like different melodies all going, and it's pretty standard like rhythm and stuff like that, and usually kind of standard like song construction, like verse chorus song.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of that standard song construction for sure, but no, I'd say a lot of, if not most of musicians that play this sort of sound, they're well versed and they know what they're doing
Sure.
for sure.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's the those sayings like 3 chords and a story or
Right.
whatever else you might hear, which might add to that idea that you don't need to
That's
be
punk though,
very-
too.
Yeah, right.
That's punk rock too.
Yeah, right. I guess it it kind of floats around. But
I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not hearing like super intricate bass lines like I would in Red Hot Chili Peppers, or really intense like melodies and scales like I would in metal music. And that's what I think of when I think of like very talented musicians, is like fast, like crazy stuff. I don't know.
You ever hear someone play the fiddle?
Oh yeah.
Because that
Like,
gets
I guess that.
well, that gets pretty intense.
Yeah,
Like,
and lap steel's pretty unique too, and a lot of that's like, waving and making all sorts
Yeah.
of crazy stuff. But I don't know. That's just my perspective. I mean, I'm sure that like anybody who reaches the scale of playing at the Grand Ole Opry is probably going to be a pretty talented and well-versed and skilled musician.
Yeah, for sure.
In general, but I feel like sometimes country music may not showcase that to the highest degree possible. But
Yeah,
that's also like not what the goal is. You know what I mean?
I think there's moments for it.
Sure.
And I think it's a lot more intentional. And then there's, that if you listen to a good song or record, you might not be able to hear those skills and talents blatantly, like on a crazy solo or something, or lead, but it's still there, just
Sure.
subtly, in its place. But yeah, I don't know. I think, like you said, I think you can say that for any type of music. There's like with punk or something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that as like some of the like my favorite songs are incredibly simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just like a guy and a guitar and like really simple chord progression and stuff like that, and it sounds amazing. And I think it really comes together through the art of the storytelling. You know what I mean? Through the lyrics and the singing. And the singing doesn't have to be like technically good singing either. You know what I mean? There's lots of people who wouldn't say have a classically beautiful voice. You know what I mean?
I think at least for like, I think of like female singers in particularly, but I think that there are many country singers that have excellent voices.
Yeah, maybe I'm reaching more in towards like blues singers.
Well,
And I don't know. Some country singers do. I can't remember his name. Like Sturgis, the guy who sung the national anthem at the at the Super Bowl.
Oh,
He has like the voice of God.
Oh, are you thinking of Chris Stapleton?
Yeah,
Chris
there you go.
Stapleton, yeah.
Like if I imagine God talking to me, like they would talk to me in his voice, or the voice of this other band that I like called Steel Driver, and those voices are like, that's like what if God exists and he was talking to me, he would talk to me in like those kinds of voices of those guys singing.
Yeah, Stapleton's got a voice like no other, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm sure that he hones his voice for sure, but I think there's a lot of just natural talent there.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And as far as like classical voice goes, though, that might not fit the bill. You know what I mean?
How so?
Like I think of like classically trained singers, like people with really big voices, like that you would see singing in Broadway. Like a lot of those style voices are very like clean. They don't have like the raspiness or like the nasaliness that you hear in a lot of people's voices.
Yeah, that might be fun to see though.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they'd ever do that, but
I don't know either. I'm sure if the right like play or the right musical came out, like you absolutely hire a person like that, or you get a person like that with like the that sounds like they're still like smoking cigarettes while they're like singing the song type voice.
Yeah, right.
That's a very unique portion. I feel like I've heard a lot of country music where they don't sound like that. I'm thinking like you're thinking like Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
like a Johnny Cash type voice, which is how my God would sound like. No, I'm just kidding.
If he was talking to you?
If he was talking to me, but
yeah.
I can definitely see, but you can do that with like...
You can do that with every genre, too.
Yeah, like, I don't really love metal. We've talked about this, but to me, metal is just like someone like, yeah, I'm not going to scream because I'm bad at screaming.
No, you got to do it now.
Yeah, I was like,
don't,
you know? Like
yeah, dude,
like
I don't know
that.
how those dudes keep their voices.
Yeah,
right.
For real, though.
Especially the ones that, like, sing and do the, like, dirty vocals and stuff. I'm like, I don't even understand. Like, how is probably lots of training is how, but I feel like it would just kill me.
Right.
If I did it.
Yeah, I feel like I could do it for one night and be done.
Well, some of those people like just sound so their voice just sounds so rattly and raspy and clangy. It sounds like it would hurt like just to talk or just to sing like normally.
I feel like a lot of those people though, I mean, there's the ones who know how to sing, like, you know, sing from the diaphragm or whatever they say. But I feel like so many people just fucking ruin their voices when they're young.
Yeah.
Just like hitting those notes and like just like singing as like hard as they possibly can. And then when you get older, like you go to see them and you're like, you know, that's their song.
Oh, yeah.
But like
They
I
don't
saw
sound like it anymore.
like I saw Guns N' Roses in like 2016 or 17, and he can still like get high with his voice, Axl Rose, but it's not like, you know, listening to like, you know, Sweet Child of Mine or, you know, Welcome to the Jungle back in the day.
Like it was back in his prime.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
definitely
man.
couldn't hit it like he used to, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can't imagine.
That's gotta be hard too. I feel like, because I feel like anytime that you're singing in like on a stage or with a microphone in your face, like you gotta sing like really loud.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of gigs we play, or I play, yeah, like if you're playing breweries or restaurants, stuff where it's loud, yeah, it's sometimes it's a fight to
To be heard.
yeah, but then there's the, you know, kind of the adrenaline you have too, which kind of almost feels like it helps you kind of sing or project a little more too, because yeah, but I think it just depends on the place, but
Right.
yeah, a lot of times I'm having to boost my vocals a little or just push a little harder with my vocals, but
I think that it's also like harder to sing quiet sometimes. You know what I mean? Like your voice sounds different when you're singing quiet
Yeah.
versus when you're singing loud. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Or
yeah,
singing
definitely sounds
at
different.
your normal volume. And learning how to maintain that. Like if I'm recording all of my stuff or if I'm singing like a certain way, I gotta kind of maintain that brand or that voice, so I can't come out there and like, oh, I'm gonna sing softly today to rest my voice
yeah.
in front of a bunch of people, you know? And because you got that sound. People want to hear your sound, Dave.
People want to hear the sound, but I feel like this is how I see it in my head. I feel like you've really made it when people are singing your songs back to you. Maybe not really made it, but like I feel like that's definitely like a level to things with live performing. And I think sometimes it would be cool, or like sometimes it's got to be cool to just sit there and just not sing, just have the people sing
Your chorus
your
back to you.
chorus
Yeah, it's
back
got to
to
be
you.
easier at least.
Yeah,
for
right.
sure. Well, you put you take the microphone and you go, okay, guys, go.
Yeah.
You're like, you know this part.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the high parts that you can't reach that night.
Right. You get to do this part, the hard part today, guys.
Right. Yeah, that would be easier. That's for sure.
I'm gonna take a sip of my lemon water while you guys sing the hard parts.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Oh well, I think one of the coolest experiences that I ever had at a concert was actually when the person wasn't singing their own parts. I'll give you the context. I went and saw Paul McCartney back in like 2019 in Kentucky, and like he plays, you know, Hey Jude. He does it all of his, and he's just like for the like na 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 na. Instead of doing it himself, he was like, okay.
No.
Well, he was like, all the men, and that was like, that was okay. But then he was like, now all the women, and it sounded like angels. You know what I mean? It was like 10,000 women just like nah, nah. And I was like, this is the coolest fight. I got like the hair's standing up right now. You can't see it. But like, he didn't even sing the fucking lyrics. And that's like, it was an awesome concert, but it was like the coolest part that I'll like always remember.
Yeah, right. Yeah, probably because, you know, because you're in the crowd and he's engaging you guys. But yeah, that would have been cool to see.
Right. There's something special about like that sense of community or that sense of connection amongst like however many people were probably seeing Paul McCartney, probably like 15, 20,000 people or something at a giant arena, and them all just like everybody just like singing together. There probably was, I mean, there were probably a couple of people that weren't singing, but those people were just fucking losers probably.
They're probably still sad about Leonard Skinner. It's your fault.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're probably still upset about that. But like, you're going to see like some guy, obviously, that you probably like a lot and probably have liked for decades for a lot of people that are Paul McCartney fans, and to not sing when he asks you to sing, I feel like you're just like slapping him across the face.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you don't want to be that dude.
No. Even if you're like not a singer or whatever, like, oh yeah, I don't sing or whatever. But you're just like one of those guys who stands in the back in the corner or whatever and like just like doesn't even nod your head at concerts and shit. But like if Paul McCartney tells you to sing, you better fucking sing.
Well, he's a Beatle.
He's a Beatle.
Right? That's
I almost called him an American treasure, but he's not.
He's not. He's a British treasure.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be embarrassing to say the least.
Yeah, dude, everybody was probably laughing at that guy not singing. Like, who the fuck? Look at this fucking guy. His girlfriend was probably ashamed of him. His whole family was probably ashamed of him.
It wasn't in my section. Everybody was really getting in
Yeah,
on
I'm
it.
sure
At
at that big of a show, you don't really notice. But
No way. Everybody was probably looking at him. No, nobody definitely had any idea.
Would you
But
ever?
he existed. I'm sure of it.
Would you ever want? I mean, that's like the zenith, But would you ever want to have that kind of fame? Like when it comes to like being a musician and stuff, are you cool? Like never getting to that point, or would that be a goal of yours?
no, not really. I feel like
Don't want that.
I feel like that level of fame just is it brings too many issues.
Right,
And
for
it's got to change you as a person to be that known by everybody.
It's an interesting conundrum though, because like you want to make your music, I'm sure I'd assume just as like an artistic expression to share with people, but like what if one of your songs just like
Yeah, dude, you could
Absolutely.
be that fucking guy on Rogan.
I can't remember his name, the guy who just
Oliver Anthony.
Oliver
yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, man, he was man. I mean, it was a good song, but yeah, that was weird.
And he's got the kind of voice that I'm talking about. That's not like a typical
Yeah, right.
classic good voice. He's got like it's very unique. But like anybody could be that guy, you know what I mean? And just have Rogan happen to listen to your song and play it on the radio or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those fun risks that I wouldn't
If
see
you
as
don't
a
want
negative
if you
thing.
don't want to be that famous and Rogan plays your song, you're kind of fucked, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it would be great to be able to play music full time and make a living doing it. But I think I think of it in two ways. Like, there's people who've been working their craft for years and have slowly amassed an audience
Sure.
and have slowly gotten to a point a plateau or a peak, whatever you want to call it, where they've you could call them famous or whatever. And then there's those overnight successes too, or I mean, not that he's necessarily a flash in the pan, but there's, especially with being in the digital age, there's a lot, you see a lot of that. But I don't know. I think either way you look at it, I think fame, the idea of fame is a really hard thing to wrestle with. Like, I don't think it's good for anybody, whether you've slowly worked up to it or whether it happened. I think it's worse if it happened overnight for you.
Dude.
But
That gotta create so much problems for that guy.
yeah, right. But even if it was like a long time coming, a slow, steady race, I don't know. I just think that having that much attention on you kind of it's got to shift the way you think about yourself and the world. And
It definitely affects your quality of life in so many different ways that we probably don't even understand as normal human beings. You know what I mean?
Well, we do things like go to the store.
yeah,
Right, yeah.
Seriously, that's what it
Yeah.
is. You can't I'm out of.
But would I be
eggs,
upset if I don't if I can't go to the store anymore because I'm too famous and I'll get mobbed by tons of beautiful women and shit? Would that be the worst thing ever?
I mean,
probably.
Probably for my relationship with my girlfriend
Oh,
that I
yeah.
love so much, Linda, if you're listening.
But you wouldn't just have beautiful women. You'd have people with their cameras just up in your face.
And
You'd have-
psychopaths that are stalking me.
But at the same time, if you're sitting at home and someone's like, dude, Josh, check this out, and it's Joe Rogan, and he's I'm listening to this song, Poor Johnny, and God, what if you guys all need to listen to this? Are you no? God,
Don't do that, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'd be like, Joe, you just ruined my life forever. No, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, I just think the idea of that fame like that would be a tricky thing to navigate for sure.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things in life that you really, I don't think like you said, anybody is equipped for it or really knows what it would be like unless you actually lived it. And most of the people who have lived it, they just seem to not like it that much, or like
right,
or there's people that like it for a little while, but then they just get so sick of it, they're just like, just let me go take my dog
Or you
for
have
a walk.
like Kanye West, who just like basks in the narcissism and the yes men and the glory.
Well, there are those
And
people
but
too,
you don't really want to be Kanye West and be a fucking crazy person that's just followed around by yes men and tell them that it's a good idea to say that you love Hitler and shit.
Yeah, probably not.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's a fair
I mean,
assessment.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that, like, yeah, you might bask in it and love it, but you're also probably a fucking crazy person.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'd say it definitely has the capabilities of doing stuff to you.
Yeah,
or affecting
making your
you
brain
in negative ways.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think, and I'm not saying this is you because you haven't said whether you are or not, but it's just interesting to me, like, how art in all forms, like, what it sets you potentially up for, because most artists that I know, or most artistic types that I know, are introverts. You know, like, quite a few of them that I know are introverts, and, like, that's the way they express themselves, because they're not as much, like, go out and talk to people. But by putting art of any form out there, you give yourself, even if it's a very minute chance, like, the chance to be forced into, like, the most extroverted situation in the world. Like,
it's a weird thing. I mean, it's a lot easier for me to get up and in front of people and sing a song that I've written than if I didn't have an instrument and didn't have a song and had to just talk to 15 people. That would be, But yeah, I'm definitely an introvert. So.
That's really interesting that you bring that up, because I never really thought about the music or the guitar.
Yeah,
or
it's just something to hide behind. Yeah, that's not why I mean, I don't like to look at it that way, but in terms of getting in front of other people, it's kind of a
at least you have something
that
you've practiced and you're used to and you're comfortable with doing, rather than just trying to talk to a bunch of people at a party or wherever, whatever social situation that you come to where you have to like improv all that shit.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, next time I come on this podcast, I want a whole script that we can.
We'll write down all the questions. Yeah. Good luck, man. We'll do our best.
Yeah. Then I'll sound way better. But.
No, you're doing great, dude. We're having a great time.
Thanks again for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's been fun. But as far as the fame goes, back to the fame, Dave.
Okay.
Back to the fame. I don't know why I'm talking to you, Dave. We got a perfectly good guest here.
No, you got some good points.
All right. Well, ask Dave.
Ask Dave?
Yeah.
Dave, if you're a famous person, do you miss, like, doing the things that you normally do in your mundane, boring, incredibly ordinary life that you have right now?
I think you start to miss things more when they're taken away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I would not miss going to the store to get fucking eggs.
You wouldn't miss I don't think you'd miss going to the store to get eggs until it was something that you can't do. And it might not be something that every day you're like, oh my God, I wish I could just go get eggs. Like, I don't think it's one of those things, but I definitely do think it's like, man, I can't do this without being badgered. I wish that I could do this just like every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of those little quiet parts of life that we kind of take for granted and don't think about, that not everybody gets to do.
But, like maybe going to the park or something like that. I can't just go out to the gorge and run around in the forest for a while. Maybe I could, but I would have to wear like a mask or something if I'm incredibly famous.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would
or like a disguise or a wig or a hat or something. I don't want to wear wigs and hats.
I think that's why a lot of people just really, really, really find themselves buying, like, famous people have their homes like as secluded as possible from everybody else. Mm-hmm. Because then it's just like you got all this private property, fence it off, like never leave, and it could have like the inverse effect, like it just makes your life miserable, like you're a prisoner in your own like fame, wealth, whatever. That's an extreme amount of fame though. Like I feel like unless you get like super like Kardashian famous or something like that, you're not gonna really have to worry about that every single place that you go.
Yeah,
probably not. But But I do think that it's an interesting dynamic here that we're talking about not really wanting that level of fame when, like, me personally as a child very much aspired to be, like, famous in one way or another. Like, I didn't really care how I was going to be, like, a rock star or, like, an actor or whatever, you know, a famous person. And now that I've gained the experience and knowledge that I've had from, like, living out my life, I definitely understand how that's not quite so appealing anymore. You know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
think the older you get, you know, if you got a good head on you, you realize that it's probably not all it's cracked up to be.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that adulthood in general though? Like when you're a kid, like you're just like that's like the classic trope, you know. That's a word that just keeps coming to me. Trope. Isn't that just like the classic thing? Like every kid's like, I can't wait till I'm an adult and I can do what I want.
Yeah.
Then you get to the point and you're like, well, I can't really do what I want, and this
And then you
sucks
wish you were a
worse.
kid
Yeah,
still.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're always trying to reach this imaginary level of freedom, like being ultra famous and wealthy and stuff like that. Like, oh, I'll be free to do whatever I want now. You know what? I'll have the money, I'll have the means, I'll have the capability to do whatever I want. But you're restricted in a different kind of cage versus as a child, you're hoping for those things because then you'll have that freedom and you're in like a different kind of cage. But we aspire now to go back to that childhood cage. You know what I mean? It's like we're trading one set of boundaries or barriers for another set of boundaries or barriers. Like, yeah, now I can't like do all the things that I do as an adult, but like I also don't have to fucking work as a child. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can just go to school and have like all summer off and do whatever I want. Versus now, like, oh, I have this freedom. I can go on trips and buy whatever I want and eat ice cream for dinner if that's what I choose to do. But I still miss like that other set of rules or those other set of things that were inhibiting me from doing whatever I want. But I guess the end goal is still the same. It's all just freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all want contentment and look for it often in the wrong places, in fame or riches or something else. But yeah, there's always a catch with those things.
Right. And I think as you get older, you learn to appreciate some things that you do not appreciate as a child, like decent food and like having a place to live and
Being able to go to bed early.
Yeah.
being able to go to bed early, maybe sleep in once or twice, summer vacations. There's a lot of, and like family, you know what I mean? As a kid, that all seems like very standard and very given, whereas now it's not so in your face or so prominent in my life that I appreciate it more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the smaller relationships, you know, like when I was growing up, it's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm leaving everybody behind, all my friends, all my family. I don't care. I'm leaving and I'm going to go build a new life for me. Whereas now I appreciate all those things so much that I like I wouldn't want to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's your mindset definitely shifts
It's
the older
crazy.
you get.
Growing up's a weird fucking thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Blink 182 made a song about it.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
more,
Well, we made a song about it too, except it's different now.
that's true.
Yeah, we made a parody of "What's My Age Again" by
Oh,
Blink
yeah?
182, like last year.
About last year, yeah.
I was seeing a bunch of old pictures on it today. I was looking through a bunch of stuff. I like to look through like the year or whatever, and I was looking at a bunch of old pictures from it. That was like spring. So instead, this spring we're making a movie. Last spring we made a music video, so we're upgrading. You know what I mean? But it was a really funny song, and it's called "What's My Wage Again," and
nice.
it was just all about like millennial strife and struggling to be an adult.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So it was like it kind of a perfect connection parody, whatever. I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah, sounds better than the original.
No, I mean the original's great.
Yeah.
The original's great, but I'm just gonna go for it and say that "What's My Wage Again" is way better than "What's My
Yeah.
Age Again." Sorry, Blink 182, we're fucking better than you guys. Just kidding. But yeah, it's all fun and exciting, and problems continue to change as we grow and get older, and we face new things with higher levels of success and higher degrees of freedom. Bring new problems in our life. It's a wild process.
Right.
Someday we'll figure it out. Maybe, you know, when I was young, I used to say that by the time I was 40, I would know everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like genuinely convinced of that when I was like 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, that by the time I was 40, I would know everything.
Yeah, I think when I was 14, I thought I knew everything.
I thought I knew.
Yeah.
No, see, I was at least aware enough to know that I didn't know everything back then, but I figured by 40 I would have it all figured out.
Yeah, that's a tall goal.
Yeah.
But,
Right. I thought a lot of myself back
yeah,
then.
right.
I think you're selling yourself short. You still got a few years.
You think I can get there, dude?
Yeah.
I think I'm not saying it's impossible. That's what I'm getting at.
Nice. Thank you, Dave, for your support.
Yeah,
Another 6 years to learn everything. Maybe.
You got so much time, dude.
Fingers crossed. By 40, we'll know everything. I'll know everything.
It's a good idea. Then you
I don't know if I want that kind of responsibility, though.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds almost as bad as a massive amount of fame.
Yeah, right? Knowing everything. You're very right. With great power comes great responsibility.
right.
In both cases, dude. Throwback to Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and,
thanks, Uncle Ben.
Yeah, Jesus, Uncle Ben, you knew so much more than you led me to believe when that movie originally came
Yeah,
out, or the
right.
TV show, or any of those things. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Spider-Man doesn't have any responsibilities. He's fucking Spider-Man. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, really.
That's always the idea or the main goal when you're a child. I do whatever I want.
That's right.
It's so short-sighted though. And that goes back to being a child, you know what I mean? And as we get older, our brains develop and we're able to think in longer periods of time because we only know a few years back then at a time. Years seemed like forever. Now years seems like nothing. And you just gain more awareness.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
fingers crossed,
That's the
dude.
goal.
If you're living as a decent, functioning human being, and you're learning new skills, you're making music, you're finding great and beautiful ways to express yourselves through the arts, and putting together albums. You know what I mean? That's another thing of progress and gold. You know what I mean? You had an EP a few years ago. Now you got a whole album.
Yep.
You probably didn't have any ability to do either of these things as a younger lad, and now look at we're out here being fucking adults and musicians and crazy shit. It's
Yeah,
wild,
I guess
dude.
so. Yeah, this is me being an adult, I guess.
And
That's
spending your money on
yeah,
shit
right.
that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that helps me feel a lot better about the money I poured into this.
No,
record.
dude. See, the thing is that it matters to you. It may not matter
Yeah.
to the rest of the universe or to the world or anything like that. And that's something that I've had to come to grips with too. And I think every artist has to come to grips with it at some point. That none of the shit that matters, especially not the fucking money that you spend on doing something that's fun and important to you.
Yeah. I mean, there's just different things that your values might change on what you're going to spend your money on. At the end of around the time this came out, my wife and I have talked we had a baby at the beginning of this year, and
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah,
Amazing.
thank
So they're
you.
going to be 1 year old?
yeah, she's going to be 1 in just a couple weeks.
Fuck
But,
yeah.
Awesome.
But because with her in the picture now, I'm not making another full-length record for a long time.
Yeah.
now.
But you
at
have
least
one.
at least unless I find another way to fund it or something.
Maybe
But,
you'll get famous, dude. Rogan will play your shit.
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a really good time for me in my life for me to, pour a lot into this project. So, I'm grateful that I did it when I did, because I might not ever make another record again, or it might not be for a while. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
That's cool too.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes when I'm lost in thought or daydreaming or whatever. What is my future child or offspring, if that ever happens, going to think about how fucking weird I am making podcasts down in my basement, making all these weird videos and this short film and all that shit. And hopefully somehow it's leaving my legacy or my mark or making something permanent in the universe maybe that exists beyond what normal people do, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, because I'm my daughter's father, I'm assuming that she probably won't think much of my songs.
No, dude, I do. If my dad had a podcast or album,
Yeah,
I'd be like, that's
right.
fucking dumb, Dad.
Until you're older, and then you're like, wow, this is great.
Well, my buddy Tyler, he's got a son Elliot, and Elliot has zero understanding when he was of how much work and effort it comes in to be a touring musician and all
Oh,
this
yeah.
shit, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. That was one of our goals while he was living here, is I was training him so that way he could beat his dad in a fight, actually.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm do push-ups and stuff. I'm like, okay, this all makes sense. This all tracks.
Yeah, right.
Sounds productive.
It's
Yeah.
not, I don't know. relationships with fathers and families and friends is all weird. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, every relationship is unique and different, and
And a father with a child has its own level of, I don't know. I feel like if at some point you don't hate your parents, they're probably not doing a very good job.
debate. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe in some ways.
in certain ways.
So,
I don't know, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, you got to be able to tell them no, and maybe I'm just an asshole.
right.
And
Yeah.
just hates people easily or whatever.
Oh well.
Yeah, I don't know. We went real dark and emotional.
Yeah, well, I can say that I'm not looking forward to the days when my daughter doesn't want anything to do with me. So, but I'm sure she'll go through a phase of that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
all
like
part of growing up.
we all do with our parents. But,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, Josh, this has been super fun, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out Josh's album. Where can they find it at? Where can they find you at? Tell the people.
Anywhere you stream music, Spotify, Apple Music, all that. Also at joshtravismusic.com, you can find stuff like vinyl and CDs and other merch.
Boom. They're sweet. Check it out. It's awesome. It's amazing. We've listened to it. I enjoyed it. I'm not really a country fan, and I enjoyed it, so definitely check it out too. Support the local artists around here. Support the musicians and your friends and family and all of their crazy, wild dreams that they enjoy. Whether or not I don't know, just do it. It's fun. We love you guys. Thanks to all our sponsors, all of our Patreon people. Y'all are the best. All the people that like, follow, share, all those things. You guys are awesome. Peace out, everybody.